G'day, Bomber fans. Well, the VFL boys couldn't follow in the footsteps of the AFL. I feel like only one of our teams can win each week. Maybe that's the vibe it's going to be for the year. We went down to the reigning premiers, Werribee, in a tight game of footy, all things considered. General play was pretty even. It was really just a 6-goal spree in the third from Werribee that got them the 23-point win in the end. But yeah, today I'm going to yap on about the AFL-listed blokes as usual, tell you how the young guys went. There's an injury or two, there's plenty to talk about, some awesome performances, some not so awesome performances. And also, before we start, I suggest you guys follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. Everything SNN on both, just my name. Well, that's not my name, I guess, actually. But yeah, I'll be posting regular VFL updates in games. If you want to know how the match is playing out, hear about injuries and whatnot, you can do it from yours truly over there. So give me a follow if you want, and I guess let's just get into it. Starting with Will Setterfield, it's tough to split him and Goldstein for best on ground, to be honest, for us at least. Setterfield was just so hard at it all day, right from the very start. He was such a big presence. He was pretty much in every centre bounce. He barely had a rest. He had the 28 disposals, 11 clearances, 9 tackles, and some of his efforts. There was a few really good holding the ball tackles. There was a great spoil from a kick-in that I think might have resulted in a goal not long after the stoppage that was forced from it. He was ripping the ball out of congestion all day, doing so much right. Yeah, good midfield depth to have him waiting in the wings, really. He definitely deserves to play AFL after a game like that, but unfortunately, yeah, he probably won't. He'll probably just have to wait and sit behind the boys in the AFL and wait for an injury. But the way he's going, it wouldn't be, a horrible thing if he has to come in and play at some stage. Jayden Laverde, first game back from an injury-interrupted pre-season, and you could tell he was a tad unfit or underdone. He was pretty gassed and a bit faster than usual, but not his legs, as in he was gassed faster than usual. But he was still trying to get those repeat efforts down in defence, even if they weren't successful, so he was giving it a crack. He had one down moment in the third where he dropped a mark going back with the flight a bit and it ended up in a goal over his head. It was not great. Aside from that, though, he was pretty much just rock solid all day. He copped a head knock in the second term, so he wouldn't have been a fun return to footy. A few bruises here and there. But no, he was fine. He played out pretty much most of the match as well. Really, it's just good to get him back on the park and get him in the resi so he can provide us depth if we need. That's the main thing, the fact that he got through relatively unscathed. Todd Goldstein, he was absolutely everywhere. He wound back the clock. That was a monster game. He was doing it on ground level too. He was doing it everywhere. He was putting in the effort to tackle smaller blokes. He was just massive. Those stats definitely tell the tale of the game. He rucked out the entire match pretty much, which I'm not 100% sold on, because ideally we're getting some time into Vigo and the ruck, so hopefully Joyce makes that change in future games. We need to see him get some ruck exposure, Vigo, that is. But no, Goldy was fantastic. 45 hitouts, 25 disposals, 7 clearances. It was pretty much the perfect ruck match. All he needed to do was nail that set shot, and I'd be calling for him to be our starting ruck in the AFL for the next 5 years. But he didn't nail the set shot, so he'll be staying in the VFL. But no, he was really good. Again, like last week, he's not going to be playing AFL at all this year, really, unless there's an injury. But it is good to know that he can run out games and impact like this at an old age. He's 90 years old and playing the VFL, so that's really impressive. But yeah, good to have him on the list. Lewis Hayes, so he was probably unlucky not to have played AFL by now. The way he's been playing lately is fantastic. I thought he was alright this week. He wasn't our best on ground like he was against the Seagulls, but in the top 6 or 7 for the Bombers, that's including the VFL listed. Yeah, he was solid, he was intercepting well, yet again posted good numbers. He had the 9 intercept possessions, a few of them were marks, 2 contested marks for the day. He did have a few uncharacteristic moments this week. He had a really bad one-on-one positioning moment where he just got completely lost and gave away a free kick. It might have been a goal after that as well too. And then there was that turnover when he was going across the face, a goal in defence. That was really bad, and you cannot be doing that on the footy field. But at least it happened in the VFL and not the AFL. He's going to learn from that. It's a good place for it to be happening. So yeah, I thought for the most part he was decent, just a bit sloppier than he usually is. But in saying that, I thought he was one of our better players. Kayle Gerreyn, very frustrating game this one. You could just tell he was not in it, and it started early. He lost his man really nicely to be hit up for a basic lead inside 50 in the opening minutes, but he dropped a regulation chest mark, a really bad drop. And from there, you just felt like his confidence was completely sapped. At halftime, he hadn't registered a single disposal. He managed one in the third, I think. He had a mark on the 50, but instead of going for goal, which he could have had the distance for, he set it up at the top of the goal square. So yeah, I mean, you could tell his confidence was just completely shot. He was frustrated. He gave away a bad 50-metre penalty as well. He did at least manage to get a goal late. He finished it on his non-preferred left foot from close range. But yeah, just a really poor game, unfortunately, which is standard for a player like this. I'm not worried. Key position project players are not consistent at all. Hopefully next match it's closer to that 3-goal output that we saw in round 1. Alwyn Davey Jnr, another frustrating game because when he's around the footy, good things are happening. That little ground ball kick he did to set up, I think it was Eckersley's goal in the first quarter, that was unreal. I don't know how anyone can think that quickly, but he did, I guess. So Alwyn can do it. And then in the second, he had that moment where he lowered the ice to hit up. I think it might have been Eckersley again, to be honest. He's just finding Eckersley non-stop. But yeah, he's so creative around the arc. He does so well to bring teammates into the game inside 50. 9 touches, but a lot of them had impact. The issue is he just isn't getting around the footy enough. You would love his creativity in the AFL, but it's hard to warrant bringing him back off the back of 9 disposals. This is a guy who you really want to see tally up 15 to 20 a game in the Rezzies, especially in a contract year, because Menzies had 10 against against Port, but had 8 score involvements for it. So yeah, he's keeping his spot, you'd think, Menzies. Davey just needs to force some pressure on him and really start owning the VFL a bit more than he currently is. He had the excuse of coming back from injury last week. This week, there's less excuses. He needs, at the very minimum, to be getting double digits, and also he needs to finish his chances. He had a pretty regulation set shot in the third quarter, which he should have kicked, but we're at least seeing his disposals turn into something meaningful, so there's a bit there. We just need to see more of those disposals. Angus Clarke, so unfortunately he was taken from the ground in the opening minutes, clutching his shoulder. He got a pretty innocuous hip and shoulder, I believe, and he must have suffered an injury, or maybe the club is being precautionary. Hopefully it is the latter, because he was looking up and about early. He had 3 touches and they all came in the first few minutes. So yeah, let's hope there's nothing structurally damaged with his shoulder and that he is up and playing footy again for us soon, because it would have been great to have him out there. He could have been a difference in the game the way he played last week. Rhys Unwin, a little bit like Davey, you really like him around the ball. He does good things around it. But he just wasn't involved as much as you'd like. And it's weird because he was looking up and about in the preseason, and he was probably closer than most of these guys to playing AFL footy. He was in that practice match squad. We saw a bit of him with the AFL boys. But yeah, early into your career, you're going to be up and down, I guess, and this is just a little down period, unfortunately. He had just the 6 disposals. He gave away some silly free kicks. He was pretty unsighted for most of the game. I thought at least late in the fourth, he started to break the lines a bit. And had a couple of plays where he tucked the ball under his wing in the defensive half and went for a run and a bounce. But yeah, just a poor game, unfortunately. I expect him to be up and about after our bye. He's one of the guys we could see play AFL this year if he does build some confidence. Vigo Visentini, first game back since that suspension that he had late last year. Got off to a good start. He socked home our first goal of the game. It was a really clever finish off the deck. That was good to see. And I thought we were going to see one of those trademark, big Vigo games that we saw last year. And he did have a few more chances to hit the scoreboard, but only managed the extra 2 behinds. I feel like if even one of those was a goal, he'd be feeling a bit better about his match. But like a few of these boys, he was just a step or 2 behind, not really looking 100% comfortable. And also, as I said earlier, but not really rucking in the middle as much. And I don't know if we're trying to develop him to be that forward who can pinch it in the ruck, or whether we're just letting him ease into it. But I'd like to see him thrown into centre bounces more and see him give, more of a crack against quality big players, especially with Gerreyn in the forward line. I feel like both those two were kind of just plodding along, which didn't really help the team too much. Zak Johnson. So I will say, with his touches, you've got to remember that he usually is the one taking kick-ins, so he's going to get really good numbers every week. It doesn't always mean he's involved absolutely all the time. I think around 15 to 16 of those touches would have come in open play, but I still thought he was having a real impact on the game from the back half. I thought his defence was a lot better this week too. It did start off a bit flat. There was a poor one-on-one which gave them their first shot of the game, but from there we saw him intercepting well. I think after Hayes, he had the most on the ground for us. He was throwing his body into attackers. He had a few iffy kicks, which is uncharacteristic, but also, as I said last week, when you get the ball as much as he does, you're bound to turn it over or make mistakes once or twice. I thought he was yet again good. He's showing good consistency and maturity, even though he's actually the youngest on our AFL list. I think this is a guy we're going to welcome into our team at some stage this year, to be honest, in the AFL, that is. I just think we need to see him work on his defensive craft a tiny bit more, remain consistent. But yeah, I really like the way he's going about it. I like he's always running by for that receive. There's never a moment where he doesn't want the footy in his hands, and that's what I like. It's why he gets so much of it. And he's only going to get better. There was one play in the second where he broke the lines and ran us the length of the field pretty much through his legs and and forward hand passing, and you could just tell he was feeling himself after that and was more confident to try and get more out of himself after that moment. So I think the more he plays and the better things he does, the more confident he's going to get. I think this is a player we've got, to be honest. I'm really liking what we're seeing from him early days. Plenty to work on, but he's doing plenty right. Jayden Nguyen. This was a funny game because it didn't feel like he was 7 disposals quiet. I remember checking after the game and thinking that he had more of an impact than that, but it felt like he had more of an involvement than 7 disposals. I do think he just warrants attention because of his energy around the footy, though. So there are times where he just takes on more than he can. He tries to fend tackles, gets caught holding the ball every now and then, tries to break lines and it doesn't work. So even though he did have 7 disposals, he probably had his hands on the ball a lot more than that. And I love his attack in defence too. I actually thought he was decent defensively. He had a great attitude. He went in hard. He really likes body contact. He doesn't shy away. So yes, he had a quiet day by foot, by hand. Quietest I've seen in a long time because I watched him quite a bit in the juniors last year. But also, I was really happy with the way he just defended. Those little big smothers, if we're talking about the one late in the game. Yeah, this is a guy who can lift his team a bit through his work in D50, which I like. I would like to see him involved more going the other way, though. And finally, Archer Day-Wicks, or Angus Day-Wicks, if you're watching the AFL website coverage. Yeah, this guy was really good. There was talk of an AFL debut for the Port game, which I wasn't really buying, if I'm being honest. I thought he was good against the Seagulls, but not AFL debut good. I think we read into that one a little bit too much. But honestly, he was an emergency, and the more he plays, and the more he impresses, the closer he's going to get. He was a really good presence around the forward half of the field against Werribee. He was constantly popping up in the right areas. He is actually a lovely kick of the footy too. I knew he was a good kick, but I didn't think his ball use was going to be this good this early. The way he wheels onto his left foot, it's just great. There was that one kick, he'd taken a mark or got a free kick, and he was going inside 50, where he faked as if he was going long, faked everyone out, including me, and then checked it late to hit up a short target. It was just so clever, and he is just such a clever and creative player. We knew there was going to be X factor about him, but the way he involves himself so much and involves others really surprises me. He's looking better than I thought he was going to look. 17 touches for the game, but it felt like more. I reckon he was probably our best after Setterfield and Goldy, to be honest. He kicked the goal as well, had a few siders, which he wasn't able to finish off. Really, really good game, though. The only thing is he doesn't have much of a left foot. That's the only... sorry, not left foot, right foot. He's a left footer. He doesn't have much of a weak foot, a right foot. So he'll probably have to work on that a bit before the AFL. But I reckon against a bad defence, he's going to have an absolute field day soon. I can see this guy really owning a game and being in the thumbnail. The title, he'll be the title player. But he's looking really good. After Johnson, he's probably the one that's performing the best at VFL level so far. But yeah, still plenty. He had plenty of moments. He was doing very good things with the footy. Very impressive game. And that is that quick little review of the AFL listed players that we have running through the VFL. Cheers for watching. Remember to follow me on Twitter or X and Blue Sky if you have it. I'll post on both just as much because I know we've got viewers on both those platforms. But yeah, cheers for watching. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and go Bombers.